Welcome back to the IBFP. Here's your host, Boxing Nuke.
Welcome back, fight fans. Welcome back. It's me again. Yes, it's me again. Let's dig right into it. A lot of social media and talk is going back and forth about a potential clash between a Mikey Garcia and a Terence Bud Crawford. That's right. That would be a huge fucking matchup. So let's just break down how we see this matchup in between these two guys. And we're going to be 100% unbiased and truthful on this particular matchup. I think these are two elite level, top level fighters. Now, this all stemmed from the Mikey Garcia camp, basically in Robert Garcia's boxing gym, basically coming out and stating on an interview, I believe, with ES News and Ellie Seckbach, stating that they would beat Terence Crawford's ass. Terence Crawford replying on social media. And then most recently, Terence Crawford confronting Robert Garcia, basically saying, I'll knock out Mikey Garcia. So let's break down this potential fight. It's all over social media. A lot of guys are talking about it. And let's just take a look into it unbiased. And for what it is, a lot of guys are saying Mikey will get destroyed. Some guys are saying Terence Crawford will get knocked out and stopped. He was exposed. But the truth of the matter is, these are two elite top level fighters. And no fight is easy, especially against another elite top level fighter. So let's start with Mikey Garcia. Mikey Garcia has 39 wins, no losses, with 30 knockouts. His last two fights came against two undefeated world champions, a Robert Easter Jr. and a Sergey Lipinets. Both of these fighters, Mikey Garcia has pretty much got a knockdown, shown that his power carries up in weight. Mikey Garcia is a top-level, elite-level fighter who can adjust styles. He stands at 5'6" with a 68-inch reach. Mikey Garcia is a top-level fighter. He's a former 4-division world champion, and I believe Mikey Garcia could get anybody hell from 135 to 147. On the other end, Terence Bud Crawford has 34 victories, no losses, with 25 knockouts. He actually is 5'8", and he has a 74-inch reach as well. So in that estimation, Terence Crawford is a little bit taller than Mikey Garcia, and his reach is a little bit longer than Mikey Garcia. And so in a fight this close against two elite and top level fighters, you have to factor in height and reach could play a huge role, because you have to understand that these guys' boxing ability is probably very, very close, because these are two top level fighters. And then you break down his last two victories. They were both at 147 pounds, and they were both against undefeated fighters, one being a world champion, and he stopped both of them in the new weight class. Prior to that, he unified the 140-pound division and becoming an undisputed champion at 140 pounds. The backstory on both of these fighters is that these guys fought a couple times in the amateurs, and Terence Crawford beat Mikey Garcia both times. Mikey Garcia is 30 years old. Terence Crawford is 31. So these guys are pretty much the same age, almost the same height and reach, but the slight advantage is going towards height and reach, going towards Terence Crawford. And breaking down the fight unbiasedly, I see this being a chess match between two fighters. I think the fight goes the distance more than likely, and I think that Terence Crawford could edge out a victory in the fight against Mikey Garcia, since he's already proven that he could defeat him in the amateurs, since he has the slight advantages such as height and reach, and since he's a naturally bigger fighter at a naturally bigger weight, and they're pretty much even skill for skill, pound for pound. I'd have to favor Terence Crawford to be the winner in that fight, but that does not mean that Mikey Garcia doesn't have a chance, or that Mikey Garcia couldn't pull off that upset. If Mikey comes in with the right game plan, or if he lands a punch square on Terence Crawford's chin, because Terence Crawford has shown the ability to get hit in the chin and get hurt, and not necessarily hurt, but get touched cleanly and effectively. Mikey Garcia has shown an ability to adjust and make sure he can hit a guy cleanly and effectively. And once guys feel his power, they no longer want to engage. Terence Crawford recently did an interview with Fight Hype as well, and basically stated that, hey, Mikey Garcia, and this was when he was previewing a matchup between Mikey Garcia and Errol Spence, and he said Errol Spence is untested and Mikey Garcia has power, and his power translates. Terence Bud Crawford knows Mikey Garcia has power, because these guys have met before. So you have to understand that I don't believe that this would be a wash. I believe Mikey Garcia would have an ability to potentially hurt or stop Terence Bud Crawford. But I think the most likely outcome is that Terence Bud Crawford would outbox Mikey Garcia based on those physical, natural abilities, being the bigger man, having the longer reach, and being more settled at a higher weight class. Because skill for skill, Terence Crawford is a pound for pound #1 fighter in the world, and Mikey Garcia is the top pound for pound fighter in the world. In my opinion, I think he's top 5 as well. So I think the fight could go either way, but I'll give the edge at this point to Terence Bud Crawford. I think he's proven a lot, and I think with his natural abilities and his bigger size, I think he could edge out a victory in that fight. I think the reason why Mikey Garcia is calling out a potential fight with Errol Spence Jr. is for 2 reasons. One, Errol Spence Jr. seems to be a huge name as far as what people are making him up to be, saying that he's a top fighter, saying he's elite. And I think that Mikey Garcia knows that if he defeats an Errol Spence fighter, that moves him up the pound for pound ranking. And the second biggest reason why Mikey Garcia is wanting to fight Errol Spence Jr. is because he's unproven and because he doesn't have the skill set of a Terence Bud Crawford. You have to look at an Errol Spence Jr. This guy is basically an unknown. He's fought a damaged Kell Brook, and that's the best win on his resume. He flaunts a Chris Algieri win, who was already dropped, I believe, 7 times against a Manny Pacquiao, as being the best win on his resume, quote unquote. I just don't believe that Errol Spence Jr. is proven. I believe Errol Spence Jr. has a lot to prove, and I believe a guy like Mikey Garcia, who's shown to have power, who has a better skill set, who has head movement, and who knows how to use lateral movement, could defeat the bigger man in an Errol Spence Jr. off of skill alone. And I do believe that that could ultimately factor in to Mikey Garcia being able to beat Errol Spence. But when you look at a fight like a Terence Bud Crawford at 147 pounds, Mikey Garcia would be at a tremendous disadvantage since both of these guys are more evenly matched boxing wise. If the fight was at 135 pounds, I think Mikey Garcia wins that fight all day. I just don't think that if you look at Terence Bud Crawford, he would ever drop down that steep in weight at this point in his career. He would have no reason to. Even if he dropped to 140 pounds, I don't feel like Terence Bud Crawford would ever go down in weight again in his career. I think he likes being at 147 pounds, and I don't feel like he would look at himself as being the B-side in the Mikey Garcia fight, since he's a world champion at 147 pounds. So I think the only way that fight happens is at 147, if they even fight. These guys have unfinished business. I think that'll be a hell of a fight. I think it'll be a pound for pound fight, and whoever does win that fight, I think would go on to be probably pound for pound fighter #1. Still, I think it helps Terence Crawford's resume, just like I think it would help Mikey Garcia's. I don't think it takes away or detracts from either guy, because both of these guys are evenly matched on boxing ability, skill for skill. It's just the natural abilities would have to go to Terence Crawford, since he's bigger, stronger, and longer at that point. And I'll have to lean towards Terence Crawford on the victory, but by no means does that mean Mikey Garcia couldn't pull off an upset. Once again, it's the IBFP, unbiased. As always, please share, like, and you must absolutely subscribe.